I know that's the only open issue. Everything else she changed is fine. She's got 30 in there. She didn't get back to me.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys.
I'd like to call to order the Town of Somers Zoning Commission special meeting agenda, a special meeting Monday, November 10th, 2025. First order of business is new business application 25-008, Grower Direct Farms, 164 Hamden Road, Somers, seeking a site plan modification for a two-phase project. Phase 1, construction of a gravel storage area. Phase 2, realignment of the existing driveway, including removal of existing culvert and replacement with a new arch culvert in the A1 residential zone.
Good evening. Tim Kuhn with J.R. Newsom & Associates here tonight representing Grower Direct, along with Ryan Adam Erlinger. Their site is located out at 164 Hamden Road. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. They have about 152 acres out there where they currently grow and distribute a variety of plants. And as you are probably aware, the operations were recently impacted by a fire at their location. And they've been trying to rebuild, and this is a project that kind of falls in line with that as part of looking to improve the operations as they reconstruct out there. It's actually a two-phase project that is being proposed. The first phase would be the construction of a new gravel storage area that they would use for trailer parking. That's the intent at the moment. The property, by exhibit here, Camden Road is located on kind of the northwest, if you will. And their site, I'll look to the east, Camden Road. In the very northwest corner of their property, just before Stafford Road here, there's a vacant field. You might recall that driving by on the road. There's an open field here. That would be the location for this gravel storage area. They would access it by extending. There's currently a farm road in the front, so if you will, to get out to this field, they would just gravel that and create the gravel lot out here in this northwest corner. They would utilize that existing culvert. They would add enough room. Currently, we're showing about for like 27 trailers that they could park out here. There would be a landscape berm to screen between the Hamden Road and this trailer parking, so there's about a 4-foot high berm. We're calling for evergreen plantings on top of that to provide some screening. This gravel area will be sloped to two corners, one to the north and one to the northeast there. Here we will be constructing infiltration basins to collect the runoff from this area and infiltrate it into the ground and just overflows into the adjacent wetlands out there. The basins have been designed in accordance with the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual. We'll be using the standard erosion controls, silt fence, sediment barrier. And we have a construction entrance where we come in. This would be phase 1, as I mentioned. They intend to do as soon as possible because they need this trailer storage for the reconstruction of the remainder of this. Phase 2, which would come at a later date, is essentially the realignment of their existing driveway. The orange here is how the existing driveway comes in off of Hamden Road. And what they're looking to do is to shift it and provide a means two entrances, if you will, so that tractor trailers can come in because they do get deliveries. And in the past, they have had situations, actually there's a couple of issues, where they had trucks that want to pull in and have to stop on the end of the road for the other truck to get out because the entrance isn't configured properly so that both can pass at the same time. And they also have an issue kind of with sight line as trucks are coming up here. These evergreen trees are large enough now where they've kind of impede the sight line going around this corner. So if a truck's coming in, this guy can't see it, and then he gets to a point, now you have two trucks that are facing off, and they really can't get by each other, so one has to back up. So they have a need to redo the entrance of the site in order to provide the ability for trucks to come in and go out, while one's coming in and one's going out. So that if two trucks are going in two opposite directions, they can still move without backing up either onto the site or into the street. So, this does require a stream crossing. We are going to do a stream crossing with three-sided arch so that there is no direct level impacts there, and then we'll be pulling the existing culvert as part of this project. Let's see. That's pretty much it as far as that goes. We have received a determination from the Conservation Commission that as a result of this being, these activities being essential to the farming operation, they are deemed a permitted use as of right. So we do not need a separate wetland permit for these. So we have approval from Conservation, if you will, for this. And now we're here tonight requesting this as a site plan modification. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, Howard? Jennifer, do you have any issues with any of the site plans that have been brought forward?
Well, I don't have any issues. So this does not go on the agenda for a special meeting? No, that's something else. Never mind. For conservation, never mind. I mean, my point of view, I think that, with a site plan modification, it's under you. It's up to your discretion about holding a public hearing or not. I personally think that because of the location, being on close to the corner and the abutting neighborhood, that you might want to consider having a public hearing, which would notify the residents in that area. Well,
I think you answered it.
This is the intersection of Stafford Road and Hammond Road. All this property, even the property adjacent to Stafford Road is owned by Grower Direct.
I'm more concerned with Dan Rulier's development, Stone Crossing.
On the other side.
On the other side of the road.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So my concern is you construct it meets zoning regulations. They need to be 10 feet off the side property line, even though they own that parcel. So they've moved within 10 feet. So it meets zoning. It's just, you should consider just the impact to the neighborhood if you think that it's significant enough that they're going to leave Stone Crossing, drive down Old Hampton Road and see a storage of trailers. So at least they're notified. It's not that it's not allowed. It's not that that's my opinion.
I would also just point out that this section to the north is all wooded wetland at this point in time, so there's not really anything we're going to do to eliminate any of the trees in that area. So there is existing screening, if you will, to the north.
So the only exposure would be from the Hamden Road?
And even from Hamden Road, we're proposing the vegetated berm to provide screening from that.
How tall are the trailers versus the berm and the trees?
What are trailer heights? It's probably no more than 11 feet, 10 feet, 11 feet. And the berm itself would be 4 feet, and then there would be evergreen plantings on top of that. So initially, you won't see the very tippy top of the tree, but eventually those trees will grow in, and you should have a pretty good buffer.
Yeah. Could I jump in? George Schober, representing Grower Direct. I just spoke with both Adam and Ryan, who are here, and just about every house in the immediate vicinity is owned by Grower Direct. There is one house that, as you come out of the driveway, there's one that you look right at that is owned by Grower Direct, and then just north of that, by the intersection of Stafford Road, that house is not. But other houses in the area aren't owned by Grower Direct. We feel that, especially under all of the circumstances with the fire and everything else, that this is the kind of thing that should just be approved, and that anyone that's driving by, if they don't live right there, we all drive by things that may not be the most attractive, but with the screening that Tim talked about, I think it's going to adequately screen it. And those of us who are familiar with Grower Direct know that this is a first-class operation. Things are run very nicely there. I mean, even when you drive in prior to the fire, when you drove in there, the place is clean, it's well kept. They're not looking to establish some sort of eyesore for the residents of Summers or anywhere else. So I would ask that on behalf of my clients that you just approve this tonight as is. I think that Tim's done a very good job explaining everything. I think it's a very simple application, and my guess is if you had a public hearing, probably nobody shows up. Thank you.
Thank you, George. We're going to recuse Chris from this, just to let everyone know. He worked for Growers Direct for a number of years, so I think in the interest of any sort of issues to be brought forward later, we're going to recuse Chris from this one. Does anyone have any concerns with tonight's application as far as the screening or the need for a public hearing? Or no? All right. Can I get a motion to approve application 25-008?
Yeah, I will motion.
I'll motion to approve application 25-008.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is the continued public hearing from October 6, 2025, application 25-007, J.B. Ladd Properties, care of Gingras Development, 85 South Road, Summers, seeking a special use permit for a mixed proximate housing development per section 214-6.14, mixed proximate residential to construct 6 buildings containing multiple townhouse-style units in the village business zone. George, do you want to get... Okay, you're right there.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Ms. Roy. George Schober from Schober & Schober, representing the applicant, Gingras Development, LLC. Tonight is the owner of the property, John Ladd from J.B. Ladd Investments. Tim Kuhn from J.R. Russo is a professional engineer and will be doing most of the limited presentation that we have. Tom Corenzo. Did I say Tom? I did not.
You got me, George.
I just didn't get to you yet, Tom. Tom Corenzo from Gingras Development, the applicant, and then Michael Schober, also attorney from Schober & Schober. Just a couple of brief comments, and then I'll turn it over to Tim, and then I'd like to hear from any other members of the public, and then we have a wrap-up. And we're going to ask you, I think, to close the public hearing tonight and hopefully grant the approval of this application. And we have a couple of suggested conditions, simply the fact that we haven't been able to get everything that we need by way of approval. But we'll talk about that. First, we did receive the approval from the Conservation Commission this past Wednesday night, and there are 7 conditions which we've discussed with the Commission, and we're going to abide by those conditions. One of the conditions is the Commission recommends an erosion and sedimentation bond, which would be set. Well, I guess it would be a condition of your approval as well, and then I'm not sure how the town is doing the bonding these days, who calculates that. We would certainly be happy if the town's engineer can do that, or our engineer can do that, and have the number for the bond reviewed by the town engineer. However you want to do it is fine by us. Also, we will be, if we're closing the public hearing tonight and asking for approval, my client is on the agenda for Thursday night's Planning Commission meeting. We did receive a positive referral from the Planning Commission. However, My client there are two lots there, or two parcels of land on this property, and my client is purchasing a portion of one of those parcels. So we need a lot line reconfiguration, which is a simple matter. Tim has prepared a plan, and it's been submitted to the Planning Commission, and we would just ask that that be made a condition of approval as well, that the Planning Commission's approval of the lot line reconfiguration. And then the other item is the septic. The sanitarian has not completed his review. He is working with the State of Connecticut Health Department to review the plans because it is fairly complicated. It's nothing that I want to talk about. I'm not sure Tim even wants to talk about it, but we would just ask that you approve this tonight, subject to a successful approval from the sanitarian, from the health department. And so I will turn this over to Tim for modifications to the plans.
We'll be very brief because since the last meeting, we've only made a few minor modifications to address comments that have been brought up through the Conservation Commission review. The first is that with regard to our roof runoff, we have disconnected our roof leaders from the drainage system, and we are now routing those to dry wells. So each building will have a dry well that the roof runoff can run into that and infiltrate back into the wonderful sandy soils that they have out there. Just during larger storm events, but that way we promote more infiltration, less direct discharge off the site. Again, we've added notes and call-outs to the plan associated with the Conservation Commission's request that we restore and maintain the existing stormwater basin out there. You recall from the presentation last time, located to the north, there's an existing stormwater management basin that was constructed back in 2008, I believe, with the Geisler's project, and it was designed and constructed in anticipation of future development out of this site. So our stormwater runoff goes to that basin. The basin was designed to accept it. However, there is some maintenance that needs to be done to restore that basin, including removal of some sediment that's accumulated over the years, as well as some invasive species, and then replant the basin. So we have added, in coordination with the wetland agent, a bunch of notes and call-outs to cover that work, including a condition to do the in-basin work during the dry season, because that way we can avoid the amphibian breeding season and also coincide with the fall growing season so that we can reestablish vegetation in the basin. And finally, we did make a modification to the plan, and the initial plans that were submitted, we were using large 2,500 to 3,000 gallon septic tanks for each building. And what we have done, which is acceptable by the health code, is we have now gone to 2 smaller tanks in series, as opposed to the 1 larger tank. It takes up a little more room, but we had sufficient room for it. All the septics, as you may recall, are in the interior of the driveway, so we had room to do that, so we've added those so that we can get away with smaller tanks for that. And that is essentially all of the revisions that we have done.
Is there a reason to go with smaller things?
Cost. Yeah, the larger tanks, the larger 2-compartment tanks are just the same more expensive than the 2 smaller single compartment.
Yes.
George,
Yes.
did you and I discussed briefly today about the fire?
Well, at the end, I'm going to wrap
Okay,
with
so you'll
that.
speak to that. Okay.
Are you all set?
So I'm all set, but I would like to come back after any public comment and then wrap up.
I know we had some public comment last time. Anyone who'd like to come up and speak, please just come up, give your name and address, and you can address the commission.
Hold on, state your name and address, please. Is the green light on?
Hello? Can you hear me all right?
My name's Dale Whitworth, 4 Lake Drive. I'm the president of Shady Lake Homeowners Association. So we hope the project goes well. We consider ourselves private land. A lot of the 20 residents at Shady Lake value their privacy, which is why we remain private. Certainly that threat of apartments or condos coming in next door is a threat to why people live in Shady Lake currently. So, what are we looking for? We have a 4-acre lake. We're concerned about liability. We're concerned about liability of a child that may get away from grandma. And the next thing you know, we have someone floating face down in Shady Lake. Not interested in that. We have insurance, yes. There isn't enough insurance in the world to cover something like that. So what we're looking for and what we expect is a secure border between ourselves and the development. Talked about before in the prior meeting that we had of having what is termed a frangible gate. Talked to Jeffrey Simmons, the fire marshal, about that. Currently, what we have separating the two properties is a plastic chain held by 2 posts. That's it. What's that going to keep out? Nothing. Let's talk about the walkways that are part of the development. There aren't any. Where do they think those folks are going to look to walk? They're going to come through and want to walk in the Shady Lake area. Down our sidewalks, in our area. If I lived there, I would. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying the bad folks are wanting to do that. I want to stretch my legs and move in those areas. What are the options? I don't know that they have many options except walking towards Geisler's. So we're concerned. We hope that something can be worked out together. A mutual arrangement that will be successful. Wonder where the town water is going to come from. Wonder where that connection comes from.
Comes from my property. And it's already, stop, you guys.
Where's it
Brought it to you.
Where are we going to hook up? Currently exist in Lake Drive. That's where the connection is made. Probably. What happens on private property if people walk onto and into private property unannounced? What options are available to us? What options should we take to protect our property? I don't know, but I can tell you this, of the 20 residents that live in Shady Lake, I have a group of folks that go from here to there in terms of their reactions and what reaction we should take to folks coming into the Shady Lake area. I'm trying to manage that best I can. We'll try to deal with it the best we can. But I have some folks that are very unhappy because they live in Shady Lake area for a reason, and they feel that that reason, security, is being threatened. So, this all to say I hope that we're able to work together to come up with amiable solutions to this. We talked a bit about the emergency lane between the two properties. Talked a bit about that and that frangible thing. So there are things called frangible gates that can replace that chain that I talked about, the plastic chain. And might be an example of some of the things that we would look at to mutually come to an agreement of maintaining for Shady Lake security and still having emergency access both for the new development, which would come our way through Shady Lake, and emergency release for Shady Lake going through their development. Goes both ways. That frangible gate. So that's all I have to say, I think, in terms of where Shady Lake stands. And hope that something positive can come out of all of this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Come on up. Just say your name and your address so we have it.
Thanks for the line, 3 Lake Drive. Mateo did a good job, explaining, what some of the concerns are. It's predominantly a liability concern. But the bottom line is we want to be good neighbors. We really do. And looking at it holistically, I think building a nice community that's planned is a good thing for that space. And so I can't say I'm speaking for Shady Lake, but I can understand that that development is probably a good thing for Summers. With that said, our liability is a big concern. And we're not asking for a lot. I really don't think we're asking for a lot. We're just asking for a little bit more protection in the form of whatever you want to call it, a barrier between the two properties that would allow us, to manage, people, coming from another space into our space. So, looking at it strictly from a legal perspective, I could imagine that the builder has to do nothing. But also looking at it from a community perspective, being a partner in the community with Summers, Connecticut, that hopefully the builder will take into consideration working with us and building, a solution that helps us manage, our liability concern. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think it's you, George.
Could I beg the chair's indulgence for 2 minutes while I go to my car? My notes that I had are not here, and I'm hoping that they fell out in the car. It'll be a lot quicker if I'm able to find the notes than if I have to start over. Very well do that.
Thanks, George.
I'll be right back. Thank you. No, it's on white draw. Oh, the connection.
For 9 minutes, people will be times from the how many times they walk on the air development.
Attention to the car.
Good job.
We're up on that, Brad. I probably shouldn't.
Find them?
No. That's bad for all of us. Okay, so I've turned to section, George Shelber for the record, I've turned to section 9.4E, which are the special use permit considerations. Jen, did you happen to print out what I sent you before the last meeting, which was a compliance with regulations? Because that's the majority of my notes. If you did, and I could borrow it. That's great, thank you.
9.4?
9.4E. So I submitted a compliance with regulations, which are the special use permit considerations that are really the zoning commission's guidelines. It's what the applicant has to meet and the zoning commission considers when you are viewing and reviewing a special use permit application. And so there are several sections to this. And the first is Section A, a compliance, it's called compliance with regulations, and the proposed use and arrangement of proposed buildings, structures, facilities, and other site improvements must comply with all applicable zoning regulations. And this permit application does do that. All the plans that have been prepared comply with your zoning regulations, particularly Section 6.14, mixed proximate residential, which is what this application falls under. So we meet all of those guidelines. I'm not going to go through all of those guidelines, but they're all on the plan. It's in the proper zone. Your zoning enforcement officer, assistant land use coordinator would have certainly told you or told us and you if this application did not meet these zoning regulations. So the second item is B, plan of conservation and development consistency. And so not only does this application meet the plan of conservation and development guideline, it's actually sort of the poster child for this. There's a picture of Geisler's in your plan of conservation and development, the plaza on page 34, that talks about housing in the village district and in this type of area, and that's exactly what we're doing here. And what my client proposes to do is to take a piece of property that, quite frankly, doesn't look very good today and improve it with, we saw the renderings last time, and I presume they're here, of the townhome buildings. Could you put that up, Tim? I mean, these are very attractive buildings that will sell for somewhere, I think the projected figure is between $450,000 and $500,000, depending on if you're getting a middle unit or an end unit. This will be a very attractive development. And, you know, my clients developed Summers Village and the Eleanor Road. What's that, Soapstone Estates? Soapstone. And anyone who's driven down or through those developments can see the type of work that my client does. And while the project is progressing, I've driven down Eleanor Road several times, and it doesn't look like a bomb went off during construction. It's kept neat and clean as a construction site. Yeah, there's some topsoil piles and things of that nature, but overall, it's still a fairly attractive site, and it will look better than it does today. So it does comply with the plan of conservation and development. Now, I'm going to skip C for a second and go to D. Actually, it'll be more than a second, but we're going to jump to D. It has to be an appropriate location. And so the proposed use has to be appropriate for the location and the size and the height and intensity of the proposed buildings, and it has to harmonize with the character of the neighborhood. And so it does do that. And you're always concerned if you have a housing development and a Geisler's Plaza or a McDonald's or anything else comes in next to you. It's sort of the nuisance moving to the residents. But in this case, the residents are, if I don't want to call the Geisler's Plaza a nuisance because it's not, but it's a commercial area, and anyone who's buying a unit there knows that. They know exactly what they're getting. So this harmonizes very nicely, and we know that Shady Lake to the, I guess it's north of this development, is a similar type of development. Yes, they're standalone homes, but they're clustered. It's a cluster development similar to this. Public safety. Adequate provision for fire, police, and emergency equipment. Well, not only do we have a very nice entranceway as you drive into Geisler's that emergency vehicles can easily traverse, there is an emergency access to Shady Lake, and we're doing a favor for Shady Lake because if you drive down Lake Drive and you look at that emergency access right now and you see the trees that are growing in that, you're thinking, how's the fire truck getting through? Well, my client's going to take care of that. He's going to develop that properly where emergency vehicles can get through. It's going to be nicely stoned and graded properly and cleaned up. And so that the folks at Shady Lake will now have the emergency access that they deserve.
Can you hold for 1 second there?
Sure.
I think Jennifer had a question about the emergency access road, right?
Right, because this seems to be one of the issues is the emergency access. I don't know if you can answer it or John, and I don't want to throw you off track.
No, it's okay.
And prolong.
I have my notes. It's okay.
Good.
I'll get back to
that's
them.
what you meant? Okay. What's the history behind that? Why is that? Like, I wasn't here when...
The history behind it was they needed the access, and you guys also needed the water, so we brought water to you out of our pocket. And they needed access because of their cul-de-sac.
John.
Speak to them, not to them.
It was originated for them. And that's why we put it in preemptively, just for
Right.
water.
So it's... I mean, I'd have to research. So is it
Does
needed
it make
now?
the length of the road?
We have one at Summers Village that comes through Joanna's Park.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
So if
that.
there's an obstruction in front of one of the two developments,
Okay,
emergency has a way to get access either way,
okay,
just like Shaker Heights. And by the way, they're all chained, no gates.
okay,
Shaker Heights is an end build.
okay.
Yeah, in fact, you can, what road's that? Shaker Heights,
Taylor Road.
And you see the backside from where, Tom? What road?
That's, what is that?
Is that Shaker Road?
No.
No, it's
No.
not.
Back of it.
Backside of Shaker
Is
Heights.
it Moody?
No.
No, just before
Well,
Moody. Just before.
Okay, but anyway, as you're driving out, you see the chain
That
entering
answers,
in.
yeah, that
So-
answers my question, because I didn't know.
Is it Moody?
So there's a chain there now, and actually our plans call for a gate, but that's a mistake, and we didn't catch it. There should be a chain there, because that's the easiest thing for a snowplow to deal with, a fire truck to deal with. If there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, it's easy to drop that chain. And Tom had spoken to the fire
Jeremy
marshal
Simmons.
about that.
Yeah, Jeremy Simmons.
And do you want to come up, Tom, or
Nope.
you don't? Okay. And so Mr. Simmons informed you that the chain is the way to go?
Yes.
Come on up, Tom.
Tom Corenzo, Jingers Development.
Okay, so,
I did talk to the fire marshal about this after Shady Lake expressed their concerns, and he told me his preference was to keep the chain. Apparently Dale had another conversation with him after the fact, and they were discussing this breakaway gate. Never discussed with me. So fire marshal said chain.
Chain versus a gate?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's going to be a breakable drive-through type of gate. Because if there's snow or something to obstruct that gate from opening and closing, defeats the purpose. If it's chain, even if they don't have the key, they're going through it.
so, and that's what we're doing here. And so that's what we want to do is have the chain. We want the emergency access available for both sides.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
So traffic congestion, we submitted a traffic report, correct?
A revision of the original.
Yes. And so the revision of that report indicates that there's no traffic impact here that this site can't handle. The sightlines are beautiful as you come out of Geisler's for those, I think everybody knows that. And then you have the left-hand turn lane in if you're heading south on 83. We don't see any issue at all. It's not a lot of trips. In fact, I think there would be a lot more trips with the office buildings had they been constructed, which was originally proposed for this site. Protection of important resources. This development does not draw from a well. It's water through Connecticut Water Company. So it's not like the natural resources are going to be affected here. In addition, developers have a habit of you take what you are developing, sort of what you are destroying, and you name your development after that. So there's a lot of Deer Meadows and things of that nature because that's what was there before you put the subdivision in. This just it's been like a storage yard for construction stuff, and it's just not attractive. So there's no important resources to protect here, and this development just improves things for everybody. Landscaping, suitable landscaping and buffers, that's H. The plan calls for suitable landscaping and buffers. Not those buildings, but one of the other plans, we've got a landscaping sheet, correct, Tim?
We talked about ways, yes.
Okay. And so then utilities, property has adequate water and sewerage. Well, we'll make sure that it has proper sewerage. The soils are fantastic there, and it's just a question of finishing up the review. The sanitarian wanted to work with the state on it. It doesn't have to go to the state health department, but the sanitarian did want to work with the state on it, and we don't anticipate any problem. It's been engineered and designed properly, and then, of course, we have the water. Now, I wanted to go back, if there's no questions yet, and talk about C, orderly development. And so the location, type, character, size, and intensity of the use in buildings is in harmony, and we talked about that. It really is in harmony. The approval will not hinder or discourage appropriate development and use of adjacent property. The only real adjacent property left to be developed here would be the pad sites in front. And I would think, if anything, having some additional residents and people coming in and out of there would maybe attract some business to those pad sites. Maybe eventually we even see a drugstore. I'm not sure anyone other than Chase is building banks anymore, bank branches, but, so I don't think we'll see that, but hopefully we'll see something. And the design, layout, and operation of the buildings and uses is compatible with nearby properties and will not have negative impacts on the enjoyment, usefulness, or value of nearby property. So this is what I really want to talk a little bit about, because this is the Shady Lake property that, the courts have said that with a special use permit, there can't be a speculative negative effect. There has to be some expert testimony to show that there's a negative effect, and we haven't had any of that. And so Shady Lake has asked for a number of items, and probably the most important is, for everybody, is that driveway access, that emergency access, and we're going to take care of that. But as far as some of the other things, if Shady Lake wants to put up a fence or a gate, I think they can try to do that on their own property. If they want a gated community, they can build a gated community. My client doesn't want a gated community. It's bad enough as far as the impact for his sales of having to screen out Geisler's with a fence there. If you start screening in everywhere, you're going to have this closed-in, claustrophobic, 25-unit townhome community that is just a walled prison. And that's not what we want in Somers. Now, again, if Shady Lake wants to do a fence and a gate on their property, they can certainly attempt to do that, but my client has no interest in doing that. And there's no negative effect here from this development on Shady Lake's property. There's only a positive effect. This is going to improve the property values there because it's cleaning up an eyesore. And it's going to take care of their emergency access that they haven't maintained with the trees growing in it. So afterwards, after this is approved, after this is under construction, if Shady Lake wants to come and talk to my client about maybe mutually doing something, they can certainly do that. But for the zoning commission, I don't see legally how the zoning commission can impose what Shady Lake is looking upon without any sort of expert testimony on my client and on my client's dime, and it will really negatively impact his ability to sell units. So I'm not aware of any gated communities in Somers. We don't have that. This is not Somers. This isn't Greenwich or Darien. This is Somers. And it's just not appropriate.
Just one other item. He said something about pulling the water from their property. The water is already looped. I'm talking about water main. It's already looped from Geisler's through Shady Lake. The connection is already made. We're just going to interrupt it, do what we need to do, and make our connection. So he's confused that we need to pull water from Shady Lake anyway. Does that
So
make
is
sense?
that public water for drinking water or for hydrants?
Both.
Both.
Connecticut water is run through Geisler's off of South Road, through Geisler's, and then it ties into Shady Lake, which is also Connecticut water, so it's looped right through.
And that's hydrants on that street.
We're adding a hydrant. By the way, that Jeremy asked me for, we didn't have to do $6,000, not a lot, but enough. We're putting it in there. We are adding
there,
one
so-
hydrant to the community.
That was my next
Yes.
question, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the fire marshal's approved the plans, right?
Yes, he
It's gone
has.
through and, yeah. So, the lake. I think if there's a problem with the lake, if there's liability with the lake, I think it's incumbent. I mean, number one, there aren't going to be a lot of kids living here, not in two-bedroom townhomes by Geisler's. There just aren't. Not at 450 to 500,000. That's not the target market, and I'm not sure there'll be any. I don't think there's any on Eleanor Road, which is not an age-restricted, and this won't be age-restricted. But you have to go through, you have to cross the Lake Drive and then go through people's yards to get to the lake. If there's an issue with the lake, I think it's incumbent upon the Shady Lake folks to deal with that. It's not incumbent upon someone else who is coming in in the proper zone building this development. I mean, that lake is not my client's issue. If they're concerned about that, they can fence the lake, and maybe they should fence the lake. I don't know. But it's not up to my client to fence way over there. That doesn't even solve the problem of, if there is one, of the lake, because the lake's still not fenced. Sometimes,
I'm sorry, but what's to prevent anybody from walking down the street and walking up Lake Drive and walking through the lake? I don't understand why they're going to generate so many problems from my little development here. We live in a big town. A lot of people walk through that area of town. What's to prevent anybody from just walking right up the street? And what are they going to do if they do? I mean, we can put up signs. We can say no trespassing. We did it in Somers Village. But at the end of the day, what do you do? Call the police? I mean,
Fair.
and I have seen, fencing in developments around detention basins. If those basins are designed to hold water, I guess they would be retention basins, and they'd hold the water. And I have seen fencing there, but I've never seen this type of, a fence has to go up around almost the entire facility because the neighbors don't want this. And zoning commissions just don't do that. It's just not the requirement. So that's all I have. Tom, John, Mike, Tim? So we'd ask that you close the public hearing, that you approve this application with the following conditions. Sanitarian is required to approve it. The Planning Commission will be required to approve the lot line reconfiguration, and then that the applicant's engineer works with the town engineer, or however you want to do it, excuse me, for the bond. Did you guys have any questions for us?
I don't right now. No.
Okay.
Jennifer, do you?
No, I don't have any more questions, but if you're going to decide to close the public hearing, we need Howie Coro to state on the record.
Don't do it anyway.
Well, right, you can do it now because you've participated.
So for the record, Howard Coro, I'm just stating that I reviewed last month's meeting. I've watched the recording. I've also looked at the PowerPoints and all the different materials that Jen has provided, so I am up to speed on what's going on these further discussions.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Dale Whitwer, 4 Lake Drive. Couple of things. One, as far as the emergency gate, yes, I talked to Jeremy Simmons about a week and a half ago. The point made about the plastic chain being adequate, yeah, as far as Jeremy is concerned, it's adequate, so I would understand what Tom and company would be saying. Jeremy also said to me, well, Dale, you come up, design a gate, or have a gate that is frangible. It's knocked down if a vehicle goes through it. And I have to approve it. So I just want to make clear that the plastic chain was not the be-all, end-all in terms of what the gate or passageway would look like and the protection between the two properties. Okay? And the discussion with Jeremy was certainly after, I would expect, Tom and company would have had a conversation regarding our plastic chain. So anything that anybody would come up with would have to be approved by Jeremy.
Did he approve anything for you? Did you provide him a fence that?
No, we're working on it though.
There's many things out there.
Pardon me?
There's many things out there.
Yeah.
I drive fire trucks for a living.
Yeah,
I understand the purpose behind it.
I think so too. So it sounds like you're with me, which is
Totally.
the reason for my return is that a plastic chain is not the only way to divide two properties to allow emergency vehicles to get through.
There's sliding gates. Sliding gates work as well. With the chain through it, we can cut a chain in 2 seconds and slide the gate out of the way.
Amen.
It doesn't hinder snow, so there is options.
Amen. Right. So that was point one. Thank you for understanding. Point two, the lake being our problem. Yeah, it is our problem. And as such, we got to take steps, as George said, as George recommended. We've got to take steps to make sure that nobody is injured in that lake. It's our responsibility, as George pointed out. Oh, rest assured, it'll be our responsibility to make sure that no one gets in that lake. That no one is on our property to get in that lake, if that's the way it's got to be. Rest assured, we'll be taking steps to make sure that there's no possibility of anyone getting in that lake. I accept that as our responsibility.
Do you guys have any issues now?
Occasionally, great question. Occasionally, we have kids wanting to fish in the lake. And they'll come over by the spillway and fish there. There's also some fallen trees that go into the lake, and they'll climb on those trees and go out, walk out on the lake, and throw their lines in. Yes, occasionally we do have problems. It goes on today. And yes, we have it posted of private property. And yes, when detected, we also shoot them away. most certainly. Those were my 2 points I wanted to come back and clarify. And as far as the water was concerned, the city water, it's my understanding that the tie-in was going to be on Lake Drive, where we have the city water there, the tie-in, and then go up the emergency road. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Sounds like I'm wrong about that that's where the town water will be coming from. Was my understanding that's where it was coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. Just your name and your address.
My name is Gary Pryor, 7 Lake Drive. Just want to clarify a couple of things. I don't know if this is on or not. We don't want a gated community. We've, within ourselves, have fought for 10 or 12 years against the gated community. There was a couple of people who wanted it, but not at the fire road. They wanted a gate down by Route 83. We don't want a gated community. All we're trying to say is the fence that was talked about, we didn't bring that up. It was a 6-foot fence behind the houses. That was brought up to us by the contractor. No problem. The fire gate, the emergency road, all we were looking for is an extension from the posts, about 20 feet on each side. That would keep the kids from walking around. Tonight on my way home from work, 2 of the kids waved to me. They were walking down the street from Geisler's. The problem being is we have a lake. As with any lake in the state of Connecticut, you have liabilities. 2 years ago, we had $1 million liability policy. The insurance company looked at it and said, we're not insuring you anymore. The best we could do was a $5 million liability. I don't want it to go up anymore. If they put in houses, all I want to do is I want to keep it safe. Now, you can't stop everybody from walking on the street. Understood. I'm not fighting that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is if we can make it so that people realize you can't walk through here or you shouldn't walk through here. One of the sidewalks going in from on 83 up to Geisler's. Any idea on that? I heard they were passed a couple years ago, Jen?
Sidewalks?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be.
Any idea when they're going in?
You'd have to ask Todd Rowland.
Okay. If you have sidewalks from Geisler's entranceway down all the way to Dunkin' Donuts area, they have a place to walk. I don't know if you folks have ever walked that. You have a pedestrian strip of 6 inches wide. I've walked it. It scares the hell out of me because the cars come out of Geisler's and they're just picking up speed. And they come over that little knoll. When I'm pulling out, it's tight. And if there's somebody walking there, they're watching the person that's walking. They're not watching anything else. We just want to make it safe. Plain and simple. We want to make sure that the people know that that lake is not public property. And it's not so much the kids fishing because they fish off the other side. If they're willing to go through the briars and everything else to put a line in, fine. It's the ones that climb on top of the spillway. That's a 11 to 12-foot drop onto rock. That's what we're trying to protect. We have put fencing up. We've made a deal with some of the people behind there to sell some of the property so that we only have to maintain a small area required by the state. The state says you have to take down every tree on that berm, 450 feet and 25 feet from the toe. You want to guess what that figure is going to be? They gave us 5 years to work on it, taking care of the deadwood stuff, the dead trees. After that, they'll review it, and we'll see how far we can go after that. So the state's happy on that part as far as what we're doing to maintain the berm dam, the spillway. We just spent $15,000 on it, recapping it, because the hurricane or the storm a few years back was so much water, it peeled back some of the cap. So to maintain the integrity of the dam, or the spillway, sorry, I confused the two. The spillway, we took off all the old stuff, put in a brand-new concrete cap with reinforcing wires on it, new wheel boards on it, and they did some stonework on the face of the dam to maintain that. So we are working on maintaining a safe area. We have an emergency plan set in case something happens. Basically, we want this development to go in. And we're not fighting every step of the way. I think it got a little blown out of proportion tonight. I think that we have a good feedback back and forth.
George? I don't know, you've been talking to Tom, I think.
I don't think he's been talking to me.
The only thing I talked to you is I met you a couple of
That's
weeks
right,
ago.
when my son was at your event.
We were at the last meeting, okay? All I'm saying is we can work together to make this to the point where both parties are happy, okay? As far as I'm concerned with the water coming in, I always thought the water came up our street and into Geisler's. I stand corrected on that?
It went the other way around.
Okay.
But on I-9.
But 3 years
On
ago,
I-9.
we got a bill for $20,000 from the Connecticut Water Company.
No.
Sir,
Yes, now we-
Okay, I'm sorry. I appreciate that. So, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some discussions. There's not going to be 100% agreement on both sides. We'll work our way through it to the benefit of both parties. And that's all I have to say.
thank you. Is that it? No, George, you want to go?
I just have one thing. I'm not even going to sit down, but we were under the impression that they wanted the fence. I don't think my client had mentioned the fence, so it sounds like the fence is not an issue at this point. So we thought last meeting they mentioned it, but now Mr. Pryor is saying no, that our contractor, our guy brought it up, and that's not the case. Well, if he did, he didn't mean to. So it doesn't sound like a fence is needed.
Did it need to?
Is that it? All right. Can I get a motion to close?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Carl.
Oh, my. I just had a question, I guess, for George before you close the public hearing.
Too late.
Is the state going to approve the septic system, or are they just, this is state's role?
Our understanding is the state is not going to approve it. It doesn't require state approval, but the sanitarian is new, and it's a large design for one of his first approvals. This is my understanding, and I could be wrong, but he asked for help from the state. And is that correct, Tim?
Yes, yeah, that was correct. Actually, there was a pre-open meeting several weeks ago, and Sean Merrigan from the State Health Department was there, and he did offer to assist in the review of the plan, even if it didn't require the state's approval.
The reason I asked that, Mr. Chairman, to condition this approval on some action by the state would be improper. So I would suggest that you not make that a condition. Obviously, it's not, the approval is not from the state, so we don't need to. But, if they don't get their septic approval, they're not building it. Doesn't matter what you do or don't do.
Carl, if you'd like, I can, we have a memo that's in the record, staff review from Jeff Catlett, our sanitarian, and his memo does say he's reviewed the plans, and the plan appears to generally satisfy and is in accordance with the requirements of the Public Health Code of the State of Connecticut and the Town of Somers regulations for subsurface sewage disposal and water supply. And there's a paragraph about the, GPD and whatever, all that technical stuff, and it does not require deep review or approval, but he exercised his authority and discretion and asked for the State Health Department to review it. So
there's no need for that condition.
Super.
So it'll just be the...
Well,
it'd be whatever you determine is.
Right. The ones that they've asked then are just the two.
Or anything you decide.
Yeah, right. No, but as far as what they've asked for.
Right.
I liked it better when you were sitting back there.
I know you did.
All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing on application 25-007?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing for application 25-007.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible decisions on application 25-006. Brian Giuliano Family Man LLC, 7 and 47 Old Hamden Road, Summers, seeking a special use permit for earthwork for section 214-8.4, earthwork regulations to perform excavation and grading, moving and removal of gravel boulders in the A1 residential zone. And for the record, Howard, you...
Correct. For the record, I have reviewed the recording of last month's meeting. I've also reviewed the PowerPoint slide deck here that you guys have, and I'm familiar with Mr. Giuliano's business.
So there's no comments from you. Okay. Public hearing's over.
Okay.
All right. We're just going to talk, and then here comes a decision.
Vote on this hopefully, in case there's any technical issues. So if you can stay, it'd be good.
Do you want me to jump in?
Well, so there were two concerns, I think, that were highlighted in the meeting for reasons to not move forward. I think one was the water. Right. I look at 8.4E, section 3, it talks about, is that it? It shall not be issued if, where was it?
Talking about the water table issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 feet, right?
Oh, no, within a water source.
I think they were, concerns about the well water. Is that what you're referring to? Or wetlands.
Wetlands, yes.
That was determined it was across the street.
Yeah. So I'm not that concerned about that.
Yeah.
No, there was a concern that it didn't go before the Conservation Commission, but
Right.
Joanna had determined that it is not anywhere in the upland review area.
Right, what was it, like 50 feet it had to be within, and it was well over 200?
It's not even within 100 feet of any wetlands.
I think it's over 200, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not concerned about that. Unless
Without being jurisdiction of wetlands.
Yeah.
Which is,
Right.
and you said there was another, I thought you said
Well-
two. I think it was,
No, I think that was the one on a technical merit, but besides the noise and everything else, concerns of that.
Well, and the validity of a commercial operation in a residential zone, but our zoning regs allow for a special use permit for earthwork in all zones.
they do, right.
That's right.
Most of the towns residentially zoned. So, well, I mean, just sort of like a primer on special use permits. So, in addition to the technical standards, which are set forth in 8.4, you also have to ensure that, to protect the public's health, safety, welfare, and property values. So, and with respect to property values, I think you heard in another public hearing that in order to make a determination that there's going to be a negative impact from some activity on property values, really takes an expert opinion. The courts have said many times that I can tell you what I think my property is worth, but it takes an expert to tell somebody what the difference in that value might be if, you move next to me. Maybe it'll help the property values, maybe it won't, but I can't make that determination. It takes an expert. So I don't know if you heard any expert testimony on property values being affected one way or another. People anecdotally usually make those kinds of comments. I don't know the record. You'll have to decide for yourself.
Right.
If that's been discussed.
I don't even think property value was brought up.
So the other issues are, let's assume that you feel that there's going to be a negative or adverse impact on public health, safety, welfare. Is there any substantial evidence in the record to make that case? And let's say you think that there is, based upon what you've heard. The inquiry does not end there. Then your obligation becomes, are there any conditions we can place on the activity itself to help ameliorate those adverse impacts? And if you find that you cannot place any reasonable restrictions or conditions on the activity to ameliorate those adverse impacts, then you're obligated to deny the application. But if you can place conditions or limitations on the activity that'll help soften those adverse impacts that have been proven to you by substantial evidence, then you have an obligation to do that. So I know that most would be unusual to see this kind of permit be granted without some kind of conditions. The typical ones are operational, hours of operation, number of days, the path that trucks take in and out of the site. Now, I don't know really anything about the application. That this could be something that's going to generate tens of thousands of cubic yards of material, I don't know, or something substantially less than that. But if traffic was going to be an impact, you could say, when you go out of the site, you got to take a left-hand turn to get to 83 as fast as you can, or something like that.
Right. Isn't it supposed to be the shortest path?
Well, you try to do that, right? But there are limitations on that we'll go into from an old case that actually we tried it to the Supreme Court. But in any event, so that's sort of what your thought process should be. Are there not only perceived negative impacts, but impacts that are shown to you by substantial evidence? And can we help remediate or ameliorate those conditions for those impacts by placing conditions on the activity? So it's kind of, I don't know if, I think the applicant, I'm told, place some, we don't really care what, if that could be a starting point, but that's certainly intended to be the end point, what they would agree to. It's your job to make sure that the adverse impacts are taken care of with reasonable conditions.
And the applicant did, I'm just trying to find it.
Toward the end.
Towards the end.
Let's go. Conditions.
The proposed conditions, of course, is the last page. So yeah, he did provide working hours, which are 7:30 to 4, which are within the regs. I think the regs say 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. This is 7:30 through 4, Monday to Friday. Maximum 10 trips a day and 35 trips a week.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
So, in my mind, it's a trip. One in, the trip. Going out is another trip. So is that what you discussed? So it's 10 trips a day, it's 5 truckloads. That's typically how I've always seen trips counted. And I won't look at the engineer over there, but I'm sure he'd probably agree with me. So I don't, but again, that's up to you to determine what's reasonable under the circumstances. I don't know much about
What are you saying, like 5? So if they're saying 10 trips, that's one trip.
Truck coming in because it's using the public roads to get there. That's a trip in.
Right.
Loads up and leaves. That's a trip out.
Right.
So that's 2 trips.
Right.
So when you say 10 trips, are we talking about 10 truckloads or 5? And you can define it, I guess, any way you want, but it should be, if we're not clear on what that is, then maybe it should be 5 truckloads a day, or 5 loaded trucks. Because someone will argue, well, my truck holds 18 yards, I only took 10 yards out on the first trip, and I got another 8 yards to play with on the next trip, and that's only 1 truckload. So, I just don't want there to be any room for miscommunication as to what it is you think you're approving and what the applicant might think you're approving.
Truckloads may sound better.
And there's only one route, access drive to the property.
Right.
So it's limited to how you can get to this property, because it borders Massachusetts, too.
The truck's going to use somebody's public roads to get in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just saying where some of these other applicants that we've worked on and had approvals, like with that, using the roads, when, like Jim said, our regulations state to use the, the closest main road anyways. And there's no wells, there's no blasting. I mean, it's suggested that, blasting, hammering, and fracturing not permitted under this permit. And he had stated in his presentation, the applicant, that he's, pulling boulders and rocks and things that were dislocated in the first place from way back when. It was an actual gravel operation itself.
So I think it should probably be made clear that the activity you're approving, and should you approve it, would be limited to what was presented to you, i.e. the dislodging of material that's been sitting there for some time period. Obviously, I assume that would require some moving of dirt to get a big stone out of there, but nothing more than that. And then the only reason I say that, because the context that brought us here maybe was a more circuitous path, I understand, right? Came out of an enforcement action.
Right.
Which I'm sure you were made aware of.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think being overly careful about, so that there's no question about what's permitted and not permitted, is probably not the bad course of action.
That makes sense to me. What about any sort of inspection, monthly inspection by the zoning enforcement officer or the wetlands officer?
Well, you don't have any authority. It would be wetlands to do that. But if you want to make that a condition of approval, I think that's a valid one. If it's not, I guess we'll hear otherwise. But for now, I would say you have the authority to do that, to make sure they're not going beyond the scope of the permit. I don't know if it needs to be monthly, but what would you say, Jeff?
Maybe not. I don't know how you could state dates, right? But, so this would be valid for 1 year, and because of the operation that he's using the material for, at the very least, at the spring and fall, because if he goes to ask for a renewal, if I go in the fall and it looks a lot different than the spring, he's taken a lot more than what's stated. Obviously he's using, it was stated that he's doing some, minor dislodging and using some of the soil, taking it out. Well, if I go there and it looks like woods operation.
So is there a project narrative other than what's in the application? Or just no paragraph?
The PowerPoint presentation from the attorney.
Okay. And that included all of that?
Do you want to look at it?
Let's say if you were to make a condition that the approval was conditioned on the activity being limited to, obviously it could be as a matter of course, but, the presentation made it during the public hearing. That's stated in those materials that you have in front of you. And is that limited to the relocation of dislodged
Well,
material?
their presentation also has pictures, and it shows, the stockpiles, which is what they're hauling out.
And part of the presentation was proposed use under permit, single contiguous work area, no blasting, hammering, drilling, crushing, or processing, removal of boulders and loading onto trucks, no digging other than dislodging boulders, excavator on site, truck ingress, egress over gravel road, typically 2 to 5 trips per workday, which I agree with you, that should probably be truckloads. And then they discussed some of the timeline, 1 year, bond to be provided, grading to be determined at end of project as part of permit closing or subsequent permit approval.
So perhaps on the page you just referred to, maybe if you could tear that off. As put a number on it and say, this permit is conditioned on what activity they go into, Exhibit A, Exhibit 1, whatever.
There's a title on the page, you can state, right?
Yeah. There is overview of earthwork. It's a 2-page document, so we can use that as the guide. And I think we would just want to change the 2 to 5 trips per workday, probably to 2 to 5 truckloads.
Well, you use the maximum.
Yeah, that's right, true.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
And then just hours of operation, days of the week.
And that's on here too. I can rip that page out. I think that would be helpful. There are a few things that we'll probably want to remove from this. There's
But in the motion, it's conditioned on hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to whatever, for no work on weekends. And I think your statute, like saying weekends and legal holidays, or just weekends?
Saturday.
Saturday you can work from
noon.
8 to noon.
Okay, Zach, so are you going to allow that?
He didn't ask for it, so I don't see a need to.
Right, they asked for Monday through Friday.
Well, then that's what we should do.
Any other questions for Carl while we have him here?
Well, so if there's an active permit, town officials have a right to inspect, correct?
Well, yes, generally speaking, yes. So I would suggest that they just...
Even if they state it, but do we need to say the number?
I think they're going to say that you shall do this.
And it doesn't have to say monthly or weekly, does it?
Can it just say periodic? Should make periodic inspections of the operation and report back to us as necessary.
Any more discussion? And when we, if we make a motion, we want to include all this overview of earthwork documentation on the pros.
Is there an estimate for a bond, or
yes, 124.
Did the town engineer review that? Find it acceptable?
He did not, so we should.
That'll be a condition. Well, the bond and the amount acceptable to the town engineer.
The town engineer just looked at the site plan. We didn't have that information.
Make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve application 25-006 under the conditions that there's 5 truckloads per day. The bond maximum bond of $124,000 is reviewed. You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Maximum of 5 truckloads a day. Subject to town authorization, we were filing a regional minister. This is all part of that?
No, we're not doing that.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I don't think we can do that.
What's now? So then it's a bond of $124,000 to be reviewed.
Town engineer.
By the town engineer. And then, and then the ZEO will make periodic inspections, based on just
Periodic.
inspection.
And then you can
You want to
adopt that single use,
single
contiguous use.
continuous use, and then adopt the continuous work area use with no blasting, hammering, drilling, crushing, or processing, removal of boulders and loading onto trucks, no new digging other than dislodging boulders, excavator on site, truck egress over gravel roads.
Next page.
Overview of earthworks, site visits by CEO, ZEO, reviewed by town engineer, the bond, right?
Yeah, where are you?
Yeah, right. That's it.
Days and hours of operation.
Days and hours of operation will fall from Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Well, second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is application 25-007, JB Lab Properties. Fair Jiggers Development, 85 South Road, Summers, seeking a special use permit for mixed approximate housing development per section 214, 6.14, mixed approximate residential to construct 6 buildings containing multiple townhouse-style units in the village business zone.
I'm sorry, did I interrupted you? You were going to close the public hearing? Did you actually?
We did.
You did?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I think it's great, the townhomes adding to that area, to the village business zone. I understand the concerns related to a fence or a gate. I don't know that I've seen any indication that a gate versus, I don't understand the fencing. Like, it sounds like they were talking about it, but then there's a dispute from the builders that they weren't going to talk about it, so I'm not sure where they stood on that, where that came from. The water, the sewer, the water for the hydrants and the house, it sounds like that's all taken care of. It's coming through the Geisler's Plaza. And then, I'm not sure how you have some opinions on the gate. I don't really have.
The plastic chamber.
Well, at the end of the day,
I don't have a concern about that.
this is a courtesy factor. They want privacy. They don't have to provide the privacy. So at the end of the day, they can get together and figure out how they're going to get their privacy. Let it be them paying for it on their own, or they go half and half on some kind of privacy or berm or tree covers, whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't really affect the permit.
Right.
The housing, the pricing point, we're not talking, we're bringing low-income housing here where we're going to have, groups of people here walking through neighborhoods. I think it's going to be professional-grade housing. You're going to have professionals living here. We're going to be respectful to the community.
I'm not concerned with the additional dangers provided by this neighborhood. Again, I think we heard a number of people come in the other day and speak in favor of this development, of people who have lived or want to live in a neighborhood like this. I don't have any concerns there myself.
I don't see any other issues, but would be concerned.
No, and if the emergency access falls on the responsibility of their development of Shady Lake, if they're going to change anything, again, I think it's something that.
At the end of the day,
if the fire marshal's okay with it.
Exactly. It's going to come down to the
Right.
fire marshal, what they would like to see.
Right, and I'm not sure where it lies, if it lies right on the property line, and if Shady Lake's approvals way back when, required it there, or if it was Summers Crossing.
Do you know if there's like an entitlement there, or no?
Well, it's just an emergency
access, right? Yeah, so.
Right.
Again, I don't think it matters.
So,
I mean, it's sufficient for the fire marshal, so.
Yeah.
and I don't think no matter what they put, it's not going to stop people from
Crossing.
going over.
Yeah, you can't stop that even now.
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
With e-bikes, I see the kids whipping around now.
Well, even just walking, if I live there and I want to go walk on Shady Lake, I would crawl under, not crawl under, you could tuck under, I mean. But it's hard for us to, how can you, regulate what.
Unless it's a gated community, there's no way to do it.
Yeah.
to really police that.
I might think they have to take their own precautions if they have concerns in their liability insurance.
Okay. Do you have any concern? Or Carl, you're not in on this one? Okay. I know you have the one question, I just want to make sure. All right. So it's the site plan, contingency site plan. We're not going to worry about the sanitarium because if he doesn't.
Well, that's,
approve it, they
you
can
have to,
vote.
and he said that the site will substantially have a compliant subsurface sewage. What do you mean site plan? Oh, the top planning commission.
Right.
So it should be, a condition should be the approval from the planning commission for a lot line revision, and have the applicant's engineer estimate a bond and have it approved by the town consulting engineer.
Okay.
Because we don't have a bond amount.
You want to take this one out?
So am I
Or
just reading?
we're not done talking. I'm happy to discuss it more.
I mean, I don't have any more.
Dan? Can I get a motion? And keep in mind the two. Again, sending it to the planning commission and
Did you state that you've reviewed all of this?
he did do the public hearing.
Gotcha. Right. Just want to make sure.
Yep.
All right. So I'd like to make a motion to close application 25 to approve application 25-007. Do I want to read the whole thing?
No, but I think you can add the two contingencies.
Two conditions.
Conditions, yeah, sorry.
All right. So two contingencies are
The site plan. That's going to the planning commission, sorry.
and septic.
No septic.
No septic. So just site plan and what is the second one?
Well, you want to state it that the condition that the planning commission approves the lot line revision.
Oh, that's it.
So you have to state it on the record.
The plot plan revision.
And that the applicant's engineer provides a bond estimate to be approved by the town engineer.
All right. So we're gonna motion to approve application 25-007.
With the condition.
With the condition of approval of the plot plan revision and by the planning commission.
And a bond.
And a bond, is it dollar amount? To be approved.
Estimate for a bond.
Applicant's engineer provides an estimate for the town engineer to approve.
For a bond to be approved from the town engineer.
Bond estimate to be provided from the applicant's engineer and approved by the town engineer.
All right. Also for the applicant's engineer
To provide an
to
estimate.
provide an estimate of the bond to be approved from the town engineer.
Good. Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Good luck, guys.
Thank you all very much.
Yep.
I think the last item, application 25-008, we already voted on that. The next item is to go into executive session, pending claims and litigation. Do I want to say what it's for? Specifically? Yes. Litigation prior versus Summers Zoning Commission, discussion regarding proposed sign. And we'll go into executive session.
Myself.
I would like to invite Jennifer Roy, CEO, and Carly Molina, town attorney.
Who made a motion for it?
No one has yet.
If you let me shut that door, we don't have to leave unless you want to. Right, okay.
You make a motion to open the executive session.
To enter, you need to make a motion to enter into executive session inviting us.
I'd like to make a motion to enter the executive session, invite Carl and General Lynn.
If you guys are supposed to. We'll start the executive session. You do that. You guys can stay there in the morning. Thank you. On the record at 7:55, we're on an executive session, no votes were taken, and with that, I'll take my leave. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
Jen, I'll talk to you soon.
Let me know when we're recording.
Oh, we are, yeah.
We are? Okay. We're back from executive session. It is 7:55 PM on November 10th, 2025. No votes were cast. So the next item on the agenda would be,
Hey, Carl.
there's no discussion or possible action tonight from the executive session. So we'll move on to the approval of minutes from October 10th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 10th.
A second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer.